Thank you to Galaxy Lamps for sponsoring this video. Welcome to today's briefing. I'm Aaron. Let's start over at Vandenberg Space Force Base there in California, see what they're up to. This is the 377th Flight Test Missile Maintenance Squadron has been busy over there. They're getting ready to evaluate a Minuteman III missile. That's part of the M3 system, they call it for short. The missiles arrive from a northern tier base. I assume they mean the silo bases that are in the Midwest. And so they actually test the missiles that are going to be actually used in the silos. So the test modules are installed after the missile is unpacked, as you see here. And they also put a lot of little telemetry devices all around this missile before handing it over to the 576th Flight Test Squadron. This is their part. First, they do a simulated electrically launched systems check, and if everything checks out, they'll do what's called an operational test launch, like you see here, or an OTL. So while this missile is in flight, a lot of telemetry, testing all the systems on board is coming back to base, where as the missile flies over 4,200 nautical miles to its splashdown point. And the whole purpose of this is to ensure reliability, lethality, and credibility of our missiles and rocket systems. So if you or someone you know loves rockets or even space travel, take a look at this. This is Galaxy Projector from Galaxy Lamps. The Galaxy Projector will turn your room into a colorful universe and create cosmic vibes. It lets you create colors and adjust brightness and set timers, and you can control it right from the app on your phone. Or you can use your smart assistant if you have one of those. This is my Galaxy Projector and I love it. I use it in my workout room and it adds a little mood lighting for me. I can have a red color for excitement, a blue color for chilling. Afterwards, it helps me relax and clear my mind in the hot tub, as you see here. Go to galaxylamps.co/subbrief to get 15% off and create your own universe. All right, let's head on over to the southern part of Taiwan where we have some PLAN ships underway. Here we have the carrier strike group from China. The Shandong is at sea. That just transited 60 nautical miles south of Taiwan into the Philippine Sea. We observed her doing 13 sorties of her J-15 combat aircraft over a 24-hour period as she passed by Taiwan. She's being escorted by a Type 054 Alpha frigate. That's called the Luzhu. And that's an escort, a frigate that was first commissioned in 2012, so she's about 11 years old now. They also have with her a combat support ship is supporting the fleet. So that is a fast oiler that's with them, 3 ships transiting south of Taiwan. So the Kuznetsov class aircraft carrier, that is the Shandong, is hull 2 of 2. She has a total complement of 24 J-15 aircraft and 17 helicopters that can do both anti-submarine warfare and over-the-horizon targeting. She is capable of 24 J-15 sorties a day. We have seen that, which is essentially their entire complement, but we haven't seen sustained rotations like that. So as of today, they've done 13 sorties in a 24-hour period. The escort Type 054 Alpha frigate is with her. This frigate carries 8 YJ-83 anti-ship cruise missiles. They have a range of 97 nautical miles, subsonic, think Harpoon or Exocet, but does 97 miles. She has 32 VLS, and something that's different about Chinese VLS from American or NATO VLS is some VLS systems like this one are limited as to their munitions. So this ship with 32 VLS can only shoot surface-to-air missiles or anti-submarine torpedoes vertically. And the surface-to-air missiles have a max range of 21 nautical miles, relatively short range fleet or flotilla defense. She does have 6 torpedo tubes. Those torpedoes can reach out to 7 nautical miles. Those are ASW only torpedoes, by the way, not against ships. She does have 2 ASW mortars on the bow. Those are essentially depth charges that they shoot out 1,200 meters in front of the ship in a half-moon crescent to attack submarines. She's capable of doing 27 knots, which is a little bit less than the 30 knots of the Kuznetsov. But if she wants to do her max endurance of 3,800 nautical miles, she has to slow down to 18 knots. That's the same for the Kuznetsov. 18 knots is her most efficient speed. So they're probably doing 18 knots past Taiwan. The combat support ship with them is the Type 901. This one does have 4 HPJ-13 30mm point defense cannons around her. Those shoot about 5,000 rounds per minute. Think of it as the Chinese version of the Sea Whiz, even though it looks completely different. This ship is capable of supplying fuel, food, water, and munitions to the fleet over a long period of time. But her max speed is only 21 knots. So now we're limited if we want to keep up with the supply ship of 21 knots. Her most efficient speed is 18 knots. Again, we think this flotilla of 3 ships probably doing 18 knots into the Philippine Sea. North of her, north of Taiwan, are 2 flotillas that we're going to talk about independently. The first one has 5 ships. They have 2 Type 052 Delta Luoyang III guided missile destroyers. They have 1 modernized Sovereignty class destroyer and 2 Jiangqi II Type 054 Alpha frigates coming south from the bases up north there. So this is the Type 052 Delta. They have 2 of these in this flotilla. This one has 64 VLSs, and like the United States, this one can shoot all the munitions. Surface-to-air missiles, anti-ship cruise missiles, even land attack missiles are capable out of this VLS. She has a deck gun. It's an HPJ-45 Alpha. That is a 130mm gun, big bore. 6 torpedo tubes, that's 3 port, 3 starboard, with a 14-kilometer ASW torpedo. She carries 2 helicopters capable of ASW warfare. She does have the Dragon Eye radar, which is really important here because that is a long-range, high-fidelity radar, good at detecting, long-range aircraft and attacks coming in on the fleet. She can do 30 knots, but if she wants to maximize her endurance to 4,500 nautical miles, she can only do 15 knots. So you see how we're getting slower and slower if they want to stay at sea longer and longer, not burn as much fuel out of the support ship. The second ship that's with the second flotilla is a old Sovereignty class DDG. This is an old Soviet era Russian ship that they bought from Russia in 1996 because it was unfinished. And after the collapse of the Soviet Union, Russia couldn't afford to finish the ship. So China bought a couple of these. This is one of them. This one was commissioned in 2006, and they finished it by cannibalizing systems from other sovereignties, putting it on this ship and then sailing it sold to China. But she's been modernized. A lot of those old Soviet-era systems have been ripped off and modernized with new Chinese systems like 8 YJ-12 supersonic cruise missiles, anti-ship cruise missiles that can travel 270 nautical miles. That is a long-range, very fast anti-ship missile, and that one is a little concerning to me. That one can actually burn through a fleet defense, in my opinion. She also has 44 HHQ-16 surface-to-air missiles. Those have a 21 nautical mile range. And she has 2 twin barrels, so a total of 4 barrels, 130mm turrets, 1 turret forward, 1 turret aft. And those can pump out 70 rounds per minute per turret, and it's a range of 11 nautical miles. So if you're another ship, you certainly don't want to get within 11 nautical miles of this thing because you're going to get a lot of 130mm raining down on you. She has 4 torpedo tubes and 2 ASW rocket bomb units that can shoot 1,000 meters. Those are the depth charges for anti-submarine warfare attacks. She is mine-laying capable, and that's important because we've seen in the Ukraine war in the Black Sea that mine warfare is still very effective even in the modern age, and she can lay mines. All right, so let's go over to the second flotilla, which is up north of them. There are 3 ships in this flotilla, another Sovereignty class like we just talked about, so we're not going to rehash that, a Type 052 Charlie destroyer, and a Type 052 Delta destroyer. Now, we've already covered those classes except the Charlie, so we'll just review the Charlie real quick. She has 8 YJ-62 anti-ship cruise missiles with a range of 216 nautical miles. So again, long range, can hit ships, sea-skimming cruise missile. She has 48 VLS systems or missiles, but those are only surface-to-air missiles. But they can reach out to 81 nautical miles. So this is a long-range surface-to-air missile. I would call this ship a fleet defense ship. They're good at detecting long-range incoming airborne attacks in aircraft and then defeating it with this long-range surface-to-air missile. She does have one deck gun on the bow. It's an HPJ-87 with a 100 millimeter gun, range of about 12 nautical miles. She has 6 torpedo tubes that can reach out to 7 nautical miles. Again, anti-submarine only torpedoes, and 1 helicopter in the hangar on the back. So this fleet is coming together right now as I'm recording this. It's a total of 11 vessels forming in the Philippine Sea. As of right now, it's just routine operations. There is no military exercise involved with this. That's public right now. So it seems like they're just going to go out and practice operating together. The supply ship does enable for endurance of all these ships to stay out longer than 2 weeks, but we'll see how long they actually stay out. But we expect a 2-week minimum on this operation. Also, they may transit somewhere else in the world. We're not sure where they're going to go. The last deployment for this carrier was back in April of this year, where she only stayed out for 2 weeks, and she basically operated here and off the coast of Guam, if you remember. But this is the largest assembly of ships that I can remember. It's much larger than the one in April, and I don't remember one being bigger than this really ever. So they're demonstrating continued improvement in coordination, including logistical support and development, which is important. Anyone that knows warfare well knows logistics is key to success, and that's really what they're practicing here. Also, increased power projection from PLAN with increased number of weapons on board these ships is happening as well. But there's no reason to get concerned because this is a Virginia-class submarine, the most advanced nuclear submarine ever deployed. It's 8,000 tons you don't see coming. You're looking at 376 feet of screaming seamen bringing 21 inches of find out. And if the commander-in-chief so much as makes eye contact with us, we will turn the largest navy in the world into a navy in memoriam. Come and get your boy! Woo! And that's why I can't have 2 cups of coffee anymore. So what I'm looking at, this is not happening now, but these are the triggers I'm looking for before I even get concerned about China and Taiwan. So I want multiple carriers at sea at the same time. We haven't seen that yet. They are building a 3rd aircraft carrier that is still going through, despite being commissioned, is still going through some form of sea trials. But we want at least 2 carriers at sea, if not all 3 at the same time. One of those carriers has to be in the red zone here. That's the Taiwan Strait, okay? And they, not transiting through it, but they need to be stationed there, doing something, putting up air sorties and all that. If they begin doing that, then I'll start getting concerned. That's one trigger. Second trigger is an SSB and a ballistic missile submarine at sea on patrol in deep water, not in the Yellow Sea, in the Philippine Sea or the Northern Pacific. If they do that, another trigger. Submarines, tactical submarines with cruise missile capability, doesn't matter if they're nuclear or conventional powered, but multiple submarines in the white box there, east of the island of Taiwan. That would be a concern. Shore-based mobile missile batteries. Then we've seen them move these before, and these are closely tracked by the Americans and other countries as well. If we see them move en masse towards the shoreline, where the red box is, that, of course, is a concern. Land-based long-range bombers operate routinely in this area. So we're just going to keep a little flag on that. If they're loading munitions, not just fuel, on these bombers, getting ready for the next day's events, then that of course, would be a flag. Each of these activities takes time to prepare. Obviously, some more than others. Positioning submarines in a fleet takes days. Getting bombers fueled takes hours. Moving missile batteries into position, depending on where they begin, could be hours or days. Also, and this is really important, loading troops onto amphib vessels in port. They do this rarely, but they do practice this, where they'll load up an amphib fleet as if they're going to go to sea and maybe, practice amphibious operations somewhere. And then after a day or 2 goes by, they take the troops back off of them. That is a huge trigger, but that takes days to complete. So we could have days of notice for all these things to be happening at the same time. And if that does, then that is increased cause for concern. That's when we would expect to see diplomatic back channels being used between the United States and China to find out what's going on. And if those don't provide any results, 24 hours before we expect these preparations to be finished, because remember, some of them take days, we would see probably a public announcement from the president as a last-ditch effort to dissuade China from actually doing something critical to change history, really, invading Taiwan. So this is not happening now. This is what I look for before I even begin to get concerned. So this is what I want you to keep in mind. As we talk about these large fleet deployments, it's no reason to get upset or concern yourself with. There are many other indications that we need to look at before we begin to wring our hands, okay? And if you would, make sure you click the link and support the sponsor that supports this channel, okay? I would appreciate it, guys, and I really do love this Galaxy lamp projector. It's pretty cool. All right, have a great one, everybody. Bye.